What up? It's your boy, Luke4pres, back in the mix once again. And today I am going to be doing one of these not so silent cook-up videos where I essentially narrate my beat making process. So, as you can see here, I am manipulating a sample that I got from LoneGud. Shout out LoneGud, my fellow Italian. Always keeps me laced with A1 loops. So yeah, what's happening here is at first I play with the pitch just to see if I can catch a vibe. See if I like the original pitch or if I need to change it. Usually how I do that is I'll typically have an idea of what artist I want this beat to be for or to sound like just when I first hear the sample. And I'll try to sing or rap just like gibberish, but in the style of that rapper or singer, and adjust the pitch accordingly to try to, come up with something that I think might be in that particular artist's vocal range. In this case, I ended up sticking with the original pitch for now, but you'll see as we go that actually ends up getting adjusted again later on when the 808s come in. So I've gone ahead and selected a clap here. This is a pretty fast beat, 165 BPM as of now in this process. So typically on those faster beats, I'll leave the hi-hats just at a simple two-step pattern, and that's what I did in this case. So now I'm moving on to the open hat situation, trying to catch a little bounce with that. So here's me just recording a simple open hat pattern, just as like a, kind of like a baseline pattern that I will then go in and edit as I go, just using the actual MIDI region. But I just want to get down like a basic idea live and just record it. So that's this process now. I've tried to, instead of just doing like a really simple open hat pattern, I've been trying to expand, play with different pitches at different times, or just make a little bit more complex patterns. So as you can see, that's kind of what I'm trying to do here. Just to keep the listener's ear engaged and just give it a little more extra bounce. Now I'm moving on to a supplementary or secondary snare, if you will. Just trying to get as much bounce as I can. This one definitely to me has like a Rod Wave feel, and I've noticed in a lot of his beats there will be several different percussion elements, several different snares, and they all kind of come together to create a really nice bounce. So that's basically what I was trying to emulate with this beat. And similar to the open hat, I have additionally tried to branch out and experiment a little bit more with these snare patterns. Again, playing with different pitches, trying to do things that are a little bit outside the norm in terms of the placement of each of those snares in the pattern. So what you're seeing here is just a process of me experimenting with that, trying to get something that sounds good to my ear. And at this point, I was like, you know what? Why stop at one snare? I'm going to go to two. And so I'm finding a second one. A tip that I have for people, and something that I have begun to utilize more often lately, is, you could create a snare pattern, right? Like a secondary snare pattern using one snare, and make it as intricate as you want. But then if you want to add an additional level of intricacy, take some of those notes and move them to a new channel strip and put in a different snare, just to give it a little bit more complexity. Definitely don't have to do that, and sometimes less is more for sure, but in this case it was something I wanted to do, so that's what you're seeing here. I'm experimenting with a different rim sound to replace some of the snare hits that I have here. And here I am adding yet another snare. I went kind of ham with the percussion on this one. So here I am just kind of toying with the placement of each of these snare hits. And that's starting to sound good to me. On to the 808. Arguably my favorite part. So I don't always do every percussion element and then go to the 808. It really just kind of depends on how I feel. Sometimes I'll go like straight to it. But in this case, for whatever reason, I wanted to get all the percussion situations handled. Now I'm just trying to find the root note here. What I typically end up doing is pitching everything up several octaves so it's easier to hear the pitch of each 808 note. You can hear me doing that now. And then I can basically create the entire like 808 melody or pattern in that higher octave. It makes the whole process a lot easier. And then when I'm done, I simply just pitch it down. And then you can really tell how it here. I mean, wow, I said that backwards. Jesus Christ. You can hear how it sounds, is what I meant to say. So I'm just playing around with the pattern still. I believe pretty soon here I end up actually changing the pitch of the sample. Sometimes that ends up happening where I'll have a pitch that I really like, and by the time I get to the 808, I realize like, oh, the 808 just doesn't sound good in that particular key, so I'm gonna have to move it up or down a bit. And that's what ends up happening here. This is actually taking me a little bit longer than it normally does. And when that starts to happen, when I can't like get it to sound how I like, that's when I start adjusting the pitch again, kind of going back to that, and just making sure that, you know, it's in a pitch where the 808 sounds how it's supposed to. And here I am recording the pattern in that higher octave as I described earlier. And now I've sped this up because this took a while. Once I got the initial idea down for the 808 pattern, you know, I go in and I perfect it. I elongate the notes. I, you know, change the placement of certain notes and maybe add rolls, things like that. This is what I came up with initially. Real simple. I didn't like how that last part sounded. And now here I'm like, all right, let me see if I need to change the pitch again. So I pitched it down one semitone. And I think that ended up sounding better to me because when it was up one more semitone, it just sounded like the 808 was just a little bit too high in terms of the pitch. Didn't have that low end rumble that I was looking for, you know what I'm saying? And then I brought it 2 semitones down, but I thought that was too low. So I kept it -1. And now that that sounded a lot better to me, it inspired me to kind of go back and toy with the pattern yet again. As you can see there, I'm adding some rolls. Just, figured it makes more sense to fast forward this process because it's a little tedious. But let me know in the comments if this is something you actually want to see. The video would be very long if I did it that way, but let me know if you want to see like a full uncut version of this kind of process. But yeah, that's the pattern now. The final pattern, I believe. Now I'm adding the kick drum. I'm sure there's like a shortcut where I can just move everything to C really fast. Still don't have that figured out. So if there's anybody, Logic gang, that's watching this, if there's a shortcut to do that faster, let me know. Because I'm just manually pulling stuff around now. So I'm pretty happy with the drums there. What I'm moving on to now is basically just the arrangement of the sample. And the really great thing about this particular loop is there were different sections laid out very nicely and everything flowed really well together. So it was easy for me to kind of mix and match layers and basically build out the entire beat structure with just the melodies up front before I even started adding the drums in, which is what I'm doing now in terms of the arrangement. Like I had the whole melodic section of the beat ready to go before I even started doing the arrangement of the drums. And that's really a testament to the dopeness of the loop that you're using when you're able to just kind of do that, and the song structure really just takes care of itself essentially, and everything just is very obvious with how it can progress. So now I'm doing the arrangement of the rest of the beat with the drum elements. And here is the final beat, ladies and gentlemen. All right, thanks for watching. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Like and subscribe. We out.